Top of the morning, top of the morning. Let's get to it. What's up? Let me see how we're going to do here. Yeah. Time to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Let's get to the bottom of this.
When you elevate, the second of losses, I'm heading.
Let's get to the bottom of this. Did America violate Diddy and Young Thug? Welcome, welcome. We're about to get to it.
Is in. After 14 hours of deliberation, a jury of 8 men and 4 women who spent nearly 7 weeks listening to over 30 witnesses decided the fate of Sean Diddy Combs. Not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. I'm Jerika Duncan, CBS News national correspondent, as Sean. The verdict is in.
Complete violation. Complete violation. Let's be real. America tried to annihilate Diddy. They tried to decapitate him.
After 14 hours of deliberation, a jury of 8 men and 4 women who spent nearly 7 weeks listening to over 30 witnesses decided the fate of Sean Diddy Combs. Not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. I'm Jerika Duncan, CBS News national correspondent. As Sean Combs faces as little as no additional time behind bars to as many as 20 years in prison for both counts, tonight we will explore his incredible life, how he rose to fame, descended into shame, and the trial that changed his place in American culture.
Puff represented more than just music.
Diddy, Puff Daddy, love everything, baby.
You know, this was Black excellence. He wasn't just a hip hop mogul. He was the biggest artist in the world.
I don't really play by the rules. I'm a bad boy.
He understood what to do with music to make a hit.
The MTV Global Icon.
BET Lifetime Achievement Award.
Give it up for Puff Daddy.
Sean Puffy Combs.
The people chose it, baby. Yeah.
He wanted to be at the top. He realized that if you wanted to really become wealthy, you don't just stop with being a recording artist. You have to take it a few steps further. He started making millions and millions.
I think a lot of people who become successful and have a darker side, they use their influence and their wealth to keep it hidden because they want people to see what they want them to see.
If that video of Cassie being beat down by Diddy had not become public, had not been on airwaves across America, I don't think we'd be here.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City.
I love you, New York.
Today, he's been indicted and will face justice. This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in sex trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be.
He knew this day was coming.
Mr. Combs is a fighter. He's going to fight this to the end.
Wow, was my first impression. They really have him now.
It's like a crime story mixed with a reality show all in one.
Excuse me.
The kings are falling.
Most of the people who come into music, they really want to get in. And sometimes when you get in and someone says, hey, all you got to do is this one thing, and I got you. But they don't got you. They're going to get you.
Before he was Diddy or Love or Puff Daddy or
This was all personal. I believe employees of the federal government, as well as the state, are haters. They take these things personally. They see a guy who has a lot of money, a lot of power, do something wrong, even though, they may not have a chance of convicting him or a good, strong case, they make up shit just to get to that person. And this is just straight personal. And last time I checked, if you're getting personal about your job, it's time to move on.
or Puffy, he was simply Sean John Combs. Born in 1969 in Harlem, he was raised by a single mother in Mount Vernon, New York, after his father was violently shot to death. During his teenage years, he earned the nickname Puffy due to his quick temper. He would later go on to attend Howard University.
At Howard, he was doing a lot of parties.
Daryl James is the author of Becoming Diddy, the making of Sean John Combs from mogul to monster.
He's a bright guy, so he came up with some really, really clever marketing ploys that worked.
In 1990, Combs landed an internship at Uptown Records.
Sean Combs was going to outwork everybody. He didn't just observe, he soaked it in. He took what he learned and then, learned how to add on to it culturally.
Bonsu Thompson is a writer and producer.
And he goes from dogged intern to assistant to production assistant to artist and repertoire on to
We are entering week 4 of the Sean Diddy Combs criminal trial, and there is one name that has come up quite a bit. Not only someone who may know quite a few things about the rap mogul, but someone who may be the key to this whole racketeering case. Will Christina Coram, Combs' alleged right-hand woman, testify? And what could she say exactly? Well, we're going to dive into what other witnesses have said about her so far and her alleged role in this whole saga. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, listen up. This is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots or were
Breaking news tonight, Diddy goes to jail after exuberant celebrations outside the courthouse with Diddy fans dousing each other with baby oil, of course. Now a somber tone as Sean Combs heads to jail. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Diddy, loving it.
He's loving all the attention. He's loving that everybody is talking about him.
I can smell it a mile away, and Diddy is loving it.
Diddy is loving this. You're absolutely right.
After a split verdict earlier in the day where Sean Combs is acquitted of RICO, 2 other counts come into play. Sean Combs convicted on 2 felony counts. There was a massive argument via paper to keep Sean Combs behind bars. The defense fighting tooth and nail to let him out on appeal bond.
They violated it. The man should have a right to a bond. He should be able to post bond. The bond is something that only way you're not supposed to post bond. 1, if you don't have the money. 2, if you ran for the police in the past, evaded them, or if you are unless you commit double or triple homicide, then they typically don't give you bond. But other than those 3, they're supposed to grant you bond. So they violated his constitutional right to a bond, so he could go home and fight it from home. And probably fight it from home, he would have probably beat all 5 charges, right? This is where the Constitution doesn't work. The courts do what they think is best for them and not for what is right to do. This is about complete violation of this man's rights. Now, I'm not a Puffy fan. I'm not here to support Diddy at all. But I am anti-bullies, right? When you try to just, come down on someone because you don't like their lifestyle, you don't like the way they have relationships. Because let's be real, this whole trial was about a couple of relationships that got a little, violent or really violent. But, that is not a federal crime, right? Now, if the state want to pick up, I don't think they could because the statute of limitations, but they had a more, they want to push a domestic violence case out on him. That would have been more, understandable, acceptable, and maybe people would have not looked at it the way they looked at it now. But because they did it this way, it made it look like they were just completely making up charges and just trying to get a conviction. They were trying to play on the emotions of the jury by showing all the tapes of him beating and doing all these things to just try to get a conviction. And that is not a fair trial.
Which means you get out, while your conviction is being appealed. Joining me right now, Tisa Tells. You can find her on YouTube at Tisa Tells. Tisa, start at the beginning. Start with the verdict, the split. What happened?
When the jury walked in, everybody was on pins and needles. I'm not going to lie. Everybody in the courtroom expected him to be guilty on at least the sex trafficking. There was a somber tone. They walked in, and when they said, please read, and they said, what do you find ye? On count one, not guilty. It was a bomb that went off in the courtroom. The public audibly gasped. Nobody was expecting that. There were cheers of joy from Diddy's side. Count two, what say ye? Not guilty. Again, another bombshell went off. People were in utter disbelief. Even Diddy's most ardent supporters did not expect him to get off on the count of sex trafficking with Cassie. Count three, when they said guilty for transportation of a prostitute, when they said guilty for the mayonnaise, that is when Diddy's team actually cheered. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, come on. Almost like we were watching a pro football game. When the other ones came in after that, there were jaws on the ground. It was unbelievable. People were looking at the jury, searching into how they could get a verdict in this day and age. They heard Cassie's mother, the 20,000. They heard Capricorn Clark. They heard about the savage beatings. And it was unbelievable that the only thing they said was prostitution. And that is because Daniel Phillips, in his testimony, actually said, at least I'm guessing that just because, that he got paid to have sex for money. It was a travesty. It was an all-out circus. Everybody, including myself, are running to safety.
I've got a question for you, Tisa Tells, and everyone's going to want to know this. You're in a car right now. You had to leave the courthouse. Why?
I had to leave the courthouse because Diddy's supporters were out of control. The first time I ran and did my live, of course, I had 2 armed security guys. Everyone told me, the people in the courthouse is like, make sure you have security. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. It wasn't just me, but I'll tell you what I experienced. Diddy's supporters surrounding me, threatening me, saying that they were going to hurt me. It was a serious situation. It got so bad, and there was so much chaos and violence that they actually had to.
A lot of emotions flying. A lot of people were in their feelings about this, right? And this is where I think the government made a big mistake. Right? They made a big mistake. And when you go after people in this capacity, when you're talking about life sentences, what's up, Auntie? Thank you, bro. Thank you. When you start threatening people with life sentences, and you won't take all their money because you don't really like them, not because they actually did something that really warranted this type of attack. You get mixed emotions, right? And a lot of people, I'm not saying Diddy's a good man. Diddy, we know Diddy's a gangster, right? We know that, right? I'm not going to sit here and act like Diddy's angel, that he never done anything wrong. But to go after him in that capacity, where the man was facing life sentence, and if he got convicted of RICO's automatic life sentence, and then they're going to take the sex trafficking and the RICO, and then take all his assets, pretty much all his money, right, and debit their account. Dude, this was a straight violation. Facts, Auntie. you know. But when I don't, and this is why I don't understand why people support the police department the way they do, because federal, state, they all are fucking crooks. All of them are drug dealers. All of them commit the same acts Diddy do, probably even greater. But because they got a little power, or think they got power, they want to just come in and just bully this man's life. Like, what gave them the right to go to that man's house and take his baby oil? You know what I'm saying? You went in this man's house without his permission. That's breaking an entry. Then you rambled through his stuff. You accessed his personal information. Then on top of that, you look stupid. You took out several bottles of baby oils. You found some guns. You found all this stuff, right? But you didn't even have probable cause. A man beating a woman on a tape is not probable cause for his whole estate to be rampage. If you had no jurisdiction to take this case, this is not a federal crime by no stretch of the imagination. Yeah, Auntie, they had warrants, but the warrants were not constitutional. Before you got a warrant, you got to have probable cause first. You had, the warrant, and the judge is in on it too. All this is a constitutional violation in a major, major way. Of course, the judge's gonna sign out on it because they're all in conspiracy together. It doesn't make it a practical case. So let's talk about probable cause. What did it take to have probable cause to get a warrant to go and search someone's premises? First of all, they would have had to know or have some sort of proof or a strong connection that he had maybe somebody imprisoned in there, you know what I mean, in shackles or something. Or they would have had to have some sort of activity, investigation maybe, where they saw him on tape taking women, putting them on the plane, dropping them off, right? Have some sort of wiretap, something where they could tap the phone, talking about how he gonna take these women and sell them to these guys or whatever for the sex trafficking, right? And then they didn't all. So that would have been probable cause. If they didn't have that, him on tape saying, "Yeah, I got some women for you. You can pay me, put this in my right." That would have been enough probable cause to go in and search. But they didn't have none of that, because if it did, it would have came out in trial. You don't think they would have used that? You don't think they would say, "Hey, look, we got this"? But when they went to that judge to get that warrant signed, the judge said, "What do you got?" We got this tape of him putting hands on feet on this woman. Okay, that's a state charge. That's domestic violence. Let's keep it real. And he was supposed to say, "No, you need to go and talk to the prosecutors in the state level." See, let me break something down. Let's break something down about this federal and state, right? These are two totally different jurisdictions, right? State typically prosecutes domestic violence, crimes that are within the lines of the state, right? So if you commit your crime in California, you go and do something down on your block, on your hood, that is a state case. Now, if you take somebody, kidnap them, or go across state line and this crime of carrying across state line, then it can become federal, under federal jurisdiction, right? Which they were trying to prove that. That's why they were trying to prove that him flying the sex workers out to this was sex trafficking when it wasn't, right? So bottom line, Diddy, every charge that they charged him with, and everything they did was non-binary. They were not federal crimes, right? There was no sex trafficking. They had no proof of that. They had no proof that his RICO, which is running this sex trafficking thing, was his business, like using his money to fund the plane trips or from his accounts to get the girls and the rides and take them places. None of that was brought up in court. All I had was a bunch of witnesses come on talking about he beat me, he raped me, he beat me, he raped me, he raped me, he beat me. He might have blew my car up. I wasn't sure. I asked him to blow my car up. He said, "What car?" Right? That was the whole trial. Then he got to the sex work. Come on. So what'd you do? We knocked the bottom out that thing. So you did what? Yeah, we knocked the bottom out of Cassie and the other girl. And they had some good pussy, right? That was the whole trial. And then, oh, did he beat you? Yeah, he beat me. Oh, I was scared. So, there was, in my estimated opinion, there was not enough, or not even close to enough, to warrant a search and seizure or an indictment. And obviously, the jury agreed with me. With except, I think those 2 counts, I think they should have popped him on those. They should have been thrown out too. But because they were probably didn't want it to be, they probably found him guilty of those other 2 counts because they thought they were lesser and it wasn't that serious. But they thought he should do some type of retribution for some of the things he did, which was a bad call. But hey, that's what they convicted him on. So I mean, I guess if I'm Diddy's shoe, I'll take it all day.
Lock the courtroom down and force the Diddy supporters across the street. It was something myself, the news media, mainstream media, new media have never seen in their lives. The level, and again, the jurors, I hope to God they know how to sleep at night. Because again, I'm sure they did their duty. But when all that chaos was happening, as I was being threatened and ushered out by armed security people, I thought, this is what the jury did. They sent a signal that it is okay to use violence. It's okay to drug people up. It's okay to live a life of debauchery. It's okay to do whatever you want. Because guess what? If you work hard enough and you have enough money and enough delusional fans and you have ingrained yourself in culture enough that you can do whatever you want. And 12 of your peers will look the other way. Again, this jury was shocking.
Tisa Tells, when you say that Sean Combs supporters threatened you, what were?
See, and this is the emotions, right? This is just a lack of knowledge, right? Lack of understanding of the law. All she said was violence. But what they charged him with, all the charges they charged him with was nothing to do with violence. Sex trafficking is not a violent charge. You're transporting people for money, right? You're flying them out. Let's say you put up prostitutes on the plane, fly them out to some guy's house, to whatever, right? RICO, right? You're funding this organization of sex trafficking with your, the plane trips, all the things. That's the RICO, which is this not violent. It's just you're funding these prostitutes to get flew or transported to a place where they're going to have sex for money, right? Meaning, and let me explain to you that's what sex trafficking is, right? When you have a prostitute or a cargo show up to the door and you pay them, to me, you don't pay the prostitute, You debit my account. I have them delivered to you via car, plane, bus, whatever, right? And then I receive payment for them, for you to have sex with them. That is sex trafficking. I'm moving these women like objects, right? To go to you to get paid. But I have to receive, for it to be sex trafficking, I have to receive money from you for this. And none of that happened in none of these witnesses. Just all they were saying is they were doing these freak offs. They were paid, they would have all these, they call it sex workers. Call services, and they will order these people to come in, and these people will come in, and there was never agreement between the parties, or they were going to have sex. As far as the people who were over, let's say, the call service, they just sent their people out there to, spend time with the clients. Now, if the client and the call guy or call girl agree to have sex, that has nothing to, this was not implied by the company. This is not, the company did not support this. All the company, what you paid me the call service for, was to get the escort out to your place, and you guys can, and technically you guys supposed to just have conversations, go to dinner. That's all that you're paying for. We're not charging you for the sexual acts or anything. Any sexual acts committed by these escort has nothing to do, or is not supported by my company, the escort service. And that's where, you don't have a RICO or sex trafficking, because there was nobody paying Diddy to get these Cassie to have sex with them. They weren't paying Diddy. Diddy was not getting paid by other men to have sex with Cassie.
What are they saying?
They were saying, you effing B, we're going to kill you, you effing B. You work for, apparently I work for the feds. You're a plant. You made this all up because of you. Again, they're not too smart. Because of you, that's how this case got started. We're going to treat you worse than we treated Cassie. Cassie, what we do to you is going to be nothing that they had on Cassie. They were screaming. They were yelling. Some people were saying, apologize to Diddy. Apologize to Diddy. Of course, thank goodness, we had Lenny and we had Jimmy, two of the best armed guards out there. So the one thing is they started foaming like wild dogs because they realized that I was not an unprotected woman. And they realized they could not just do what they felt like. And they started foaming like wild dogs, screaming, their voices cracking in anger that they viscerally wanted to rip me apart. This is why their hero had been exonerated. Even in the best of times, these people that support him, there's something wrong with it. And I got to tell you, Nancy, it wasn't just me. It was not just me. It was anybody that didn't have a pro Diddy stance from the beginning. That's who suffered.
Joining me in all-star panel, but I want to thank Tisa Tales for what she's doing tonight. Rob Shooter is joining me. Rob, I really don't know where to start. This is a blow. This is a huge blow to crime victims all over the country. Huge blow. The big news is right now, Sean Combs is going to jail. Okay? Yeah. He's going to jail. I was actually worried that somehow the judge would contravene the law. And the law is, under the Bail Reform Act, that for these two charges on which he was convicted, he has to go to jail. Yeah. There is no appeal bond, period. But I was so concerned that the judge would somehow find a way to let him walk. And all this time, Shooter, we've been hearing, I've got all these letters here. Here's one from Deontay Nash, in fear, talking about Combs's long, well-documented history of violent retaliatory behavior. They're afraid, Rob Shooter. Guys, Shooter knows Combs better than any of us. His longtime publicist no more. But now you can find him at his Substack, robshooter.substack.com, and Naughty But Nice podcast. Shooter, I got to tell you, it's like
there's all extra shit. They fear. what the fuck do they fear? Before this case, Sean was walking the earth for over 40 years or 50 years. Ain't nothing happened to people. People weren't getting deleted, none of that. But they just, they just wanted, people want this protect, how to say, when you get emotional and you try and you lose irrationality, you don't look at this in a very, I would say, practical view. Everybody knows that they didn't prove the charges that he didn't get convicted for. But the women, particularly, a lot of women, and some of the men, this worshiping of women, this protect all women ideology is very dangerous, right? Because now, nobody's saying that Diddy didn't do anything wrong, but come on, you want to see a guy get life sentence? You a cold motherfucker. You want your life. So let's transit over. Let's go to my guy, Young Thug. Copy that.
Williams Jr. was arrested Monday on 56-count racketeering indictment.
He had been on trial for almost a year, with the proceedings around his fate eventually becoming the longest trial in the history of Georgia. Before that, though, he was a music legend. Young Thug had been an icon in hip-hop for over 10 years, with people calling his voice a beautiful instrument. An extraordinarily distinctive artist with 3 Billboard #1 singles and countless awards to his name. In the words of many critics, he was the David Bowie or Prince of hip-hop, one of the biggest musical figures to ever come out of Atlanta. With a general understanding that hip-hop wouldn't be what it is today without him, his clothes have ended up in fine art exhibits around the world, and he even won a Grammy Award for Song of the Year in 2019. But the story of how he ended up in a courtroom facing a 120-year sentence in the first place as part of the longest and most controversial trial ever in Georgia is long and complicated.
I've done 300 appeals in the state of Georgia alone. I've never read a case like this.
It's an all too real reminder of a corrupt legal system, the dark side of the music industry, and, of course, the life of Young Thug himself. And it all starts with a little kid growing up in one of the worst parts of Atlanta. If you're interested in more of my creations, we just launched a brand new set of pendants from our brand Spirit World that we designed for though, is about how this case was handled on all sides, becoming not just the longest trial in Georgia's history, but by far one of the most absurd legal proceedings ever seen. Even though Young Thug was arrested on May 9th, 2022, jury selection didn't begin until January of 2023, 8 months later. By the time that process got underway, Young Thug had already spent months behind bars, waiting for his day in court. The process of jury selection itself, though, was grueling and difficult, taking over 10 months as both the prosecution and defense searched long and hard to find 12 impartial individuals from the massive pool in front of them. According to a legal expert, there are a few reasons why this process is unusually challenging. Number one, he's a celebrity, and number two, it's a RICO trial. They're estimating it's going to take up to a year, so you have to find people who can give up a year of their life to sit on the jury, and that's really hard to do. Add on to that the fact that jurors would only be paid $25 a day to be on the case. It was probably just as hard to find someone who could afford that versus someone who didn't know who Young Thug was already. As the selection process began, there were quickly issues with many jurors having conflicts of interest. Ultimately, Judge Glanville, who was presiding over the situation.
This is, once again, right, another situation where it took them a whole year to just find the right jury. For people not to be impartial, just to be fair. The question that we have today is how hard it is to be fair. Regardless of what the charges may state or the media may say, I believe everybody's entitled to a fair trial. I mean, even if you're caught red-handed, right? I don't think that should go to trial. I think that should be played out, right? But I still think everybody is entitled to a fair trial. I think that is fair, and that the jury members should, be ready to look at all the facts that presented in the case to come to their conclusion, and not making, well, I don't like you, or I don't like this guy, or these charges. And the problem with a lot of people, when the charges are made public, they convict. Or automatically before hearing all the information, before getting all the facts, people convict immediately. But this is my problem with the people. We know the cops, the court system have been proven to be crooked. We have just as much you have evidence of Young Thug doing whatever they said he was doing. Just as much evidence they had of Diddy said he was doing what he's doing. We have evidence of foul play by the police, plant evidence. We have plenty of information on the cops, doing a lot of crooked acts against people. So when we get a guy who's okay, he's a thug, he did some things. As soon as he gets charged, you want to convict, but you never look at the court system, which is crooked, which have, put people away falsely, which have miscarriage justice, right? Who has erroneously done people wrong in their system knowingly. It ain't like it's ignorance, out of ignorance. They knew that Young Thug, this was not a RICO case. But because the courts, and let me go some before I go to this point. It's just like when Democrats, right? It's just like when the Democrats, when they made their claim, when they made their sale or their pitch to the black people about Kamala Harris running for president, all they did was put some women on the stage and twerk their asses, right? They didn't want to articulate, meaning what they felt about the black vote was, you guys are stupid. We just put this on here and you guys are going to vote. Same thing the prosecutors and the USA believe about the American public, that we are stupid, that they can put anything up there and paste it and do a very, very sloppy job. But we know you guys aren't that smart. We know you guys are not very, practical thinkers. We don't care. We spend all your money, your tax dollars. Come on now. This is not coming out the prosecution pocket. This is not coming out the judge's pocket. This is coming out the taxpayer's pocket. All this shit. The Puff Daddy child, the Young Thug, all this is coming out of taxpayers' pocket. And you guys are sitting here praising them. And then when all the facts come out that these people are violating people's rights, they're violating the constitutional right to a fair trial, well, I don't give a fuck. He did it. He guilty. This is where we will stay divided. This is where the government will stay winning. Because as long as the government can keep everybody divided, they stay in power. Simple. And they'll keep doing this to your kids, your cousins, your uncles, your mothers. And they'll keep dragging them into court, with trumped up charges, and put them away forever. Because you guys going to say, oh, yeah, this is a great court system. It's a great police. And that's sad.
question made the final decision of who could sit on the jury. For this reason, to ensure each juror was vetted correctly, they had to fill out a 37-page survey asking everything from people's social media activity to their frequency of listening to rap music to make sure they wouldn't be biased for or against Young Thug. A difficult situation to be in, given his status as one of the most famous musicians in Atlanta. Of course, though, there were even more hiccups that only further delayed the trial from getting underway. Glanville ended up punishing a number of people who had been summoned to be on the jury, including one person who had gone on a trip to the Dominican Republic instead of reporting for duty. While that person was forced to write a 30-page essay on the importance of civic responsibility, another juror was held in contempt for speaking with a reporter from the Atlanta Journal. Not only was communicating with the media completely prohibited, but so was consuming outside information about the case. That person in particular ended up getting sentenced to 20 days in jail, although their sentence was reduced to community service at a school or church, focusing on choices and consequences. Speaking on it in retrospect, one person from the final jury said that 5 members of the jury experienced some type of death in their family during the trial that they had to push down and keep going to work through due to the demands of being in court. As hearings got started, though, things didn't calm down. Another particularly bizarre incident unfolded in the courtroom not long after, when Young Thug's co-defendant Khalif Adams passed him a pill in plain view of everyone during a pretrial hearing. When security footage revealed that Adams had handed Thug a perk.
Free Thug, mistrial! Free Thug, mistrial!
Aren't you interested in removing the cloud that's hanging over the case right now, Your Honor? If you
Sir, I'd be real careful about what you're pleading at this point in time, what you're stating to the court.
I'm so high right now, y'all. I'm about to go to sleep on y'all ass.
There has been no shortage of incredibly outrageous moments in the criminal trial of rapper Young Thug, so let's do a full breakdown of some of the most wild incidents over the last 18 months. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is a Law and Crime legal alert. Google Incognito tracked users' browsing data without their knowledge. Yep, well, Mass Tort Alliance, one of our legal sponsors, is helping users file for compensation due to Google users' privacy issues surrounding Google Incognito. So if you've used Google Incognito anytime since 2016, you can start your claim in less than 10 questions at incognitoclaims.com/sidebar. It has been quite a ride so far on the Young Thug trial out of Atlanta, Georgia, hasn't it? When you think about the last 18 months or so, we have seen some absolutely wild, unforgettable moments that I'll tell you right now, I don't recall seeing in other trials. I really haven't. And that's not me saying it lightly. I cover trials all the time. Now, this, of course, is the case of rapper Young Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Lamar Williams. He and his co-defendants, they were indicted on a laundry list of charges, including the main underlying charge, conspiracy to violate the state's RICO or racketeering law, namely that they agreed to illegally obtain property and money through a pattern of criminal activity in furtherance of a criminal enterprise or gang known as YSL, or Young Slime Life, as alleged by prosecutors. And when we talk about conspiracy, there has to be an agreement to break the law, and there has to be overt acts or steps that are taken in furtherance of that agreement. Now, overt acts, they don't necessarily have to be crimes. They just have to be certain actions that were taken. And the idea here is that Williams and others had an agreement to participate in gang activities, and there were 191 overt acts taken in furtherance of this YSL gang. So no wonder this trial is taking quite some time in order for the prosecution to prove all that. Now, more than 24 other men were charged as well in connection with this case, but that number has dwindled down by the time we got to the start of trial. That was for various reasons. Their cases were...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. All right, Deputy Hudson, all of our jurors present? Okay, all right. Is Mr. Copeland back with us? Yes. Okay. Anything to take up before Mr. Copeland comes out? All right. Oh, yeah. What's my name? All right. We're back on the record in the matter of the state of Georgia versus Khalif Adams et al. In 22 SC 183572. Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Botts, and Mr. Sharp, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Williams, Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, and Mr. Pines, good afternoon. All right.
Remind you that this judge was removed from this case. That his acts were so egregious, they got him up out of there. His time is up. That's how hard it was to get a fair trial.
Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Hugh and Mr. Matthews Sr., good afternoon. All right, and
Going back to the incident in which you, your girlfriend at the time, and your child was being shot at, do you remember seeing any of the individuals who shot at you?
I never saw no one that shot at me at that time.
Do you recall in that interview a period of time where the detective left the room and you were speaking with your girlfriend and you told her that you knew who shot at you?
I never saw nobody. I never saw who shot at me. If I saw who shot at me, I would never told the police who shot at me.
Do you recall in this same February 20th, 2021 interview that when the detective left the room, you said to your girlfriend, this shit not gonna work. Sit right here and be a damn snitch, so I'm gonna keep going. Do you recall telling your girlfriend that?
I don't recall.
Okay. And then she responded,
Remind you, they had him on a double homicide. And you know, they let him off on multiple homicides for his testimony. They had him on 2 homicides. Not 1, but 2. And they said, you know, we not only will we let them go, we give you immunity, except for I think the one guy, I guess the blood dude, they said that's the only one you can't admit to doing, and they're convicted. But the rest of the other stuff, the ones we got you on these 2 over here, it was 3 total. 3 total. It was 2 people that they had him on, and another guy, they didn't have one, but they said if he admitted, they will convict him for it. But basically, they gave him immunity on the stand, so basically he can admit to the crimes he committed, so that they can go after a man who they truly didn't have a case against for what they were charging him for. So basically, once again, right, we have here a miscarriage of justice. We have another prosecutor in their feelings going after this guy because she's mad. She doesn't like him. She doesn't like his style, or he doesn't like, you know, these things. Now, let's talk about violence, right? Do we understand that violence is what makes the world go around? Do you understand that all these countries are intact and not being violated because they will, you know, launch some missiles, they will destroy something? Violence is how you get respect in this world. I don't understand why people acting as if violence is something that's not common, not only on a street level, but on a political level. Why do you think America has all them nuclear weapons and that badass military? Why do you think Russia is bombing Ukraine with motherfucking efficient missiles? The world has always been violent and will always be, as long as it's in existence, violent. It's the way the world is. So you liking somebody because they're not liking somebody because they're violent, then you gotta not like the whole world. Because the whole world is violent, right? Women and men alike. Now, women violence may look less, you know, women violence is as, you know, appealing. It's like nobody really like ooh about it. But violence is the way of life here in this world. Men, come on, homies. We get our respect by being violent. If niggas find out that you're a nice guy, that you let everybody run over you, you know, anybody take your shit, you just be like, oh, peace. Do you know niggas will get you up out of here? Or will continue to run over you? But some people only respect violence. Some people need you to show them for you to, or not, they're gonna try to, they even take your manhood. I mean, I'm just saying, right? This is if you, I don't understand why we sit up here act like violence is not a cool thing to have, to keep people off. It gets you your respect, get you a lot of respect. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, nobody will ever trust you or nobody will ever try you once you, but it keep at least 85 to 90%. 96% of people will just walk the other way because they don't want that smoke. Because if you know you about that smoke, yeah, a lot of people gonna take the other way around. But if you're the nice guy, you know, you don't, you know, you're very nice and you just, you know, if somebody confronts you with an act of violence and you shrivel up, niggas will call you a coward, a bitch. It's just the way it is. Well, I know it's so. In one hand, oh, thugs, violent, lock them up. On the other hand, right, motherfucker disrespect you, you beat their ass or you shoot them or you whatever. So we're so hypocritical about this term violence, right? We're very. I see women getting down with other women all the motherfucking time. I see women stab motherfuckers. I see niggas. I don't get it. I don't get why we deny our very nature. We're violent people.
So, Your Honor, it'll be effect on the listener.
I'll rule the objection, sir. I'll rule, sir.
So what you're saying is why you acting like you did? And
All right, here we go. Lil Woody. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Thanks, Sam.
Long time coming. We've been talking about doing this for a minute. You know, I wanted the Young Thug trial to end before doing the interview because I understood that, you know, whatever we do, they're going to be watching it. So I didn't want potentially anything you and I said to go into Young Thug's case. But now, since he's taken time served, I feel like it's a good time for us to actually talk.
Yeah, they've been pulling me over too. I got pulled over 3 times in the last 2 days.
Okay. In Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
Hey, man, you're popular out there. Yeah. Well, it's your first time here, so I want to start in the very beginning. So you were raised in Mechanicsville.
Most definitely.
Okay. And what was that like at the time?
You know, when I was growing up, you didn't have an internet, so you know, it was just, you know, everybody in the hood chilling. You feel me? Like it was different from what it is now. I don't get what you mean. Like what?
Well, okay. So let me rephrase that a little bit. You were growing up and you had
Sugar Bum. What?
So it was a lot of kids in the house. How many boys? How many girls?
Sugar Bum. You pulled up. Yeah, you know, Sugar Bum, you always welcome over here. Do your thing. Chicken Wayne. You know who this is. Don't talk about what's this. It is Ruthless doing what he do. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, this is the real, this is the new, I'm bringing 2026 with the smoke.
6 girls and there's 4 boys total.
Okay, all the same parents?
Yes, mom and dad.
Oh, okay, they're busy.
Right.
Okay. Where are you in the...
I'm the 7th child, youngest boy.
Okay. Now, when you were 10 years old, your dad died from cancer.
Right.
Okay. How did that affect you? Because your parents are still married, a lot of kids to take care of, and now the breadwinner is now gone.
Well, it's like I can't say it affect me, but I can't say it didn't affect me because I never got to see what the experience would be like. You know, it's nothing I knew. I didn't know any better at the time. Like, and then I had a head injury, so I didn't really. I had a head injury, so I really wasn't aware as much as a 10-year-old would be aware.
What do you mean by head injury? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so you had that case, but then there was the whole robbery situation that happened later on. This was like 2012, 2013.
A robbery? I don't know nothing about.
No. But you said you were caught in the vicinity of a
smash and grab.
Smash and grab, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So you got caught for that.
I did.
Okay, and what did they charge you with?
What they charged me with?
Yeah.
Participation in criminal street gang and theft by receiving stolen property.
Okay, that was 2012.
No, that was like 11 or 10.
Okay, because you did a year over that?
No, I did like a few months.
Few months.
I didn't have a record. And like the clothes that I had on, when they looked at the surveillance camera, those clothes was never on camera. I had on like a green shirt, like I had on bright colors. So they gave me a gang charge in saying that I received stolen property. Well, I got a signature bond like within I think I did 2 or 4 months and got a signature bond, got out, and I didn't plea out to it. I told them I'd go to trial before I take a plea. So they dropped the gang charge and made me plea out to the theft charge, 6-month probation.
Okay. So then you get out around what, 2012, 2013?
I think I got out like 2011.
Okay. Got it. Well, at one point you end up having a daughter.
Yes.
And you said that kind of made you change a little bit.
Ain't no kinda. It opened my eyes and slowed me down.
Right. Now you have a little person who's responsible, you're responsible for. Well, you had 2 kids around the same time, right?
Actually, it was more than that, but 2 was born.
Okay. Now,
I ain't letting nobody take nothing from me, man. Like, you just have to do it to me. And you know what I mean? That was their case.
Okay. Did he actually rob you?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm still here alive, and he's still alive. It's just that, like, I would in front of whoever if you disrespect me, because it's like I ain't messing with nobody.
Right. But that situation caused a fight to break out.
Yeah, like I couldn't lie and say, so I just went ahead and told them it was me who was shooting back. So, they told me to get on that gun within 24 hours. In 24 hours, they came with the SWAT team to lock me up.
Right. So you got hit with a weapons charge in April.
No, I got hit with probation violation.
Probation violation.
Because I never gave the weapon up.
Aha. Right. Well, because I read that you were caught with a Diamondback .223 rifle.
That was down the line.
Oh, that was later on.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So after that, what were you? Probation violation.
So for the shooting with me and my daughter and my baby mama, they told me to get on 24 hours to get on the gun. And when they let me go, they didn't hear from me in 24 hours. They came with my probation officer to my probation address with the SWAT team, and then they locked me up for violating probation because they couldn't get me with nothing else.
So you say, well, what can I tell you to help me out? Because I'm not trying to waste y'all's time. I've been put in these bad situations trying to help people out, trying to stop this shit. He's not going to stop until Kel's dead. He don't give a fuck. He don't care who he hits. You remember this part of the conversation?
To be honest with you, I didn't even I don't keep up with it because I know how I am. I'm full of shit. You feel me? So I'm pretty sure you didn't grow up in the neighborhood. We talked a lot to the police off the rip. You know what I mean? And these police knew I was lying. You feel me? Like, they knew I was lying from the get-go. So, it should be self-explanatory, man.
Well, yeah, you also say, man, this is on God. I come around Thug and tell him this is stupid. They're going to get you. I said the police are going to get you. The cop says, what did he say? He said, he, I know. The cop says he don't care. And you say, no, he don't. He's ready. I said, you're going to fuck around with the cops and they don't like it. They're going to go out to get you. They're going to watch for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And the cop says, and pay $2 million for a lawyer for all the killings and all the stuff. You see, it's going to be like Florida. Somebody's going to call and say all the feds outside lined up. And I know, know what I mean? But it's just like, well, make sure you don't take me with you because at the end of the day, I don't have nothing to do with this shit you got going on. And he's like, bitch, fuck you.
Don't it sound like some bullshit?
I mean, you know.
I said, you want your
And this is how desperate, and this is how unethical that our system is, right? They let a dude like Woody come in there and run circles around him. He just told him made up shit, right? Because he's one of the guys who knew that if you give them something that they believe, they'll let them go. And that's how corrupt our system is, that they don't want to get out there and do the work, put the boots to the ground, get evidence the proper way, interview the witnesses properly. You know what I mean? They don't want to do that. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to have to go out and prove a case. They don't want to do that. They don't want to be professional. See, now all they're trying to do is cheat the game, right? They're trying to cheat and win. No, it's like a test. It's like taking a test, right? Instead of you studying for the test and then going in there with doing all your correct studying, getting all the information and put it together so you can answer the questions properly, they're trying to, you know, put answers on their fingers. They're trying to look at other people's tests. Just, you know, they just no longer, let's be honest with you, right? And this is for everybody, right? This is not just the gangbangers. This ain't just people from the hood or people who, this is any American, right? The police force, the court system does not have respect for the people. They do not respect us. And yeah, all of us looking for the sideline, yeah, he did it, put him guilty. Until it happens to you, you won't feel it. But if it does happen to you, you will understand, you will come from a different place. This is a very corrupt system that we live in. America is very evil. And the police, federal government, state government are in on it. America preys on its people. I believe this is the only, from my knowledge, is the only country in the world that literally preys on their citizens, on their taxpayers.
Do it sound like some bullshit?
It sounds crazy.
I'm just, you gotta understand, man. You know what I mean? Like, if you compare my interrogation footage, right, to somebody else, they say, what they doing? They crying. They ain't really trying to, you know, convince. Man, I'm just telling the police, I'm an angel. When they know damn well that's the last thing I am. You feel me? It's just like, man, we don't take a rocket science to see through bullshit. If you listening, I think somebody was speaking on it. I overheard something where it was like the last DA didn't want to touch it because they knew that I was bullshit. So it's just like their whole motive behind this situation was to destroy it. Like, okay, let's just get it and just destroy it one way or another one. You know what I mean? And you know, God worked in a mysterious way that he ain't, you know, the spirit wouldn't allow that to happen.
Well, were you put in Fulton County Jail around this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Fulton County Jail which was investigated by the feds over the last year and a half, is considered the worst murder jail in the country. Last year, there were stabbings every single day. In fact, there were 400 stabbings in the last year. That means more than one a day. And I guess, I kind of looked into this, the way the jail is built and just how shoddy the walls are, that people could like literally pull the walls out and pull metal bars out the walls and make knives with it. And they've heard of situations where people dig through the walls to get at their enemies in the jail.
The jail is crazy. It's not even like that. A weapon ain't easy to get. But you know, people fear for their life, man. They gonna make a way. You know what I mean? They gonna make a way to turn something to a weapon. And you know, there's 400 stabbing reported. What about the ones who scared to report it?
Right. I guess the jail has a hard time trying to classify gang affiliations. So they don't know who's who and who's down with who. And next thing you know, people are getting stabbed left and right.
It's impossible to because
So I think that's enough to show that America is violating their people. And we should be aware of this. So I'm going to end this stream. Thank you guys for coming, for showing up. I'll be streaming pretty regularly. I don't know exactly what time. It's going to be random right now until I find a consistent slot so they have my algorithm. But, you know, in conclusion, watch yourself. These police, these are not your friends. For the women, particularly these police are not your friend. They're not. Until next time.
Women cheat for attention and understanding.